Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 17th regular meeting of Council. I'd like to first recognize that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. Our clerk tonight will be Ms. Sheila Gurry. We also have Councillor Brown attending electronically tonight. Tonight's regular meeting of Council is being held in accordance with the Community Charter and Council Procedure Bylaw 2018, number 7272. And if during the meeting any member of the gallery has a question regarding an agenda item, please write down your name and the agenda item on the question period sign-up sheet, which is on the table by the double doors to my left. Please note that the Council Procedure Bylaw states that questions will only be taken on staff reports, consent items, or other business items. Before we begin the meeting, I would like to take a few moments to remind those who are attending in person about the rules of decorum for all council and committee meetings. A committee meeting is intended to be a place where democracy can freely take place in a safe and respectful manner. The council chambers is a workplace, and there are considerations council and staff must make to ensure that a safe work environment exists in accordance with WorkSafe BC regulations. To support this, disrespectful conduct will not be tolerated, so we ask that there be no cheering, jeering, or other outbursts from the gallery at any time. This will ensure that anyone speaking, whether it be a delegation, a member of council, or staff, is not interrupted and can make their point freely without distraction or fear of ridicule. In instances where a speaker is being inappropriate or has exceeded their time limit, their microphone will be cut off. Similarly, if there are outbursts by any person in the gallery, they will be asked to stop, and if they do not comply, they may be asked to leave as permitted under Section 133 of the Community Charter. If necessary, council may call a recess in order to reset the environment of the council chambers. It is our belief that if everyone is respectful of these basic considerations, this meeting and future meetings will be more effective in furthering the business of the City of Nanaimo. The first item on the agenda is the introduction of late items. Ms. Gurry, please, we have a few.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, Council. For late items this evening, Agenda Item 12C, Proposed Telecommunications Facility at 6675 Mary Ellen Drive. We're adding the following delegations: Brian Gregg, President of Site Path Consulting Ltd, and Edward Holzhoff, Associate from Bennett Jones on behalf of Skyline Private Investment Capital Inc. As well, we have the addition of Agenda Item 15A, Councillor Manley, Notice of Motion re City of Nanaimo and Regional District of Nanaimo Synergy re Public Works Yards Upgrades. And we have the addition of 15B, Councillor Manley, Notice of Motion re Media Usage of Electronic Devices. And that's it, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. Motion for adoption of the agenda is amended. Moved Councillor Manley, seconded Councillor Armstrong. All those in favour? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Motion for adoption of the minutes is circulated. Moved Councillor Hemmons, seconded Councillor Eastmere. All those in favour? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Mayor's report tonight, just a couple of items. And the first item is Councillor Hemmons, who is going to report to us on her attendance and participation last week, March 12th to 14th, at the 2025 Local Government Leadership Academy Leadership Forum. Councillor Hemmons, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to those of you who supported my attendance at this conference. I was invited to sit on a panel about community engagement and revising your OCP, and I want to thank staff for equipping me with some really great notes. Nanaimo really stood out in terms of our opportunities and our efforts to engage. I've had several follow-ups from folks requesting information about how we did it and what our recording of such thing was, or what our recording was. I learned in this process that the City of Nanaimo logged every single comment that was given during Reimagine Nanaimo. It blew my mind, and other jurisdictions were interested in hearing about that. So thank you for the great notes from staff. It was a successful panel. Some other highlights were a really great presentation on the role of First Nations in emergency management that I thought were very applicable to us, as well as the town of Castlegar or the city of Castlegar is working on a municipal price index compared to a consumer price index, which I thought was really fascinating, something that we've talked about at this table often. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hemmons, and thank you for taking the time to attend. As of March the 12th, many of you have noticed, because we've received some very positive commentary, that there are 22 Canadian flags flying at Maffeo Sutton Park at the corner of the intersection in Comox and Terminal Avenue. For many years, the Nanaimo International Folk Festival Society has raised funds and supplied and utilized those funds for the flags, has utilized those poles during the summer months to fly flags from the Society's member countries. Their flag poles are usually empty during the winter months. So I want to thank city staff from the Parks and Recreation Department for jumping on this opportunity, installing the Canadian flags in support of our ongoing tariffs from the United States and threats to our very sovereignty as a nation. It's a beautiful location. It's a display of pride, and as a proud Canadian, as I hope and trust all of us in this room tonight are, it's a wonderful opportunity to reflect on this country and what it has to offer so many people who, even after they have immigrated from their home countries, take enough pride in this country to celebrate and recognize its diversity. There are no items to rise and report on. We have no presentations, Ms. Gurry. We have no committee meetings, minutes. We have committee minutes for the Design Advisory Panel and no consent items. We have no delegations unrelated to agenda items, and we're on to reports. The first is 12A, Development Variance Permit Application Number DVP 474-5515 Godfrey Road. And Ms. Brinkman, good evening, please.
Good evening. So this is a development variance permit application to reduce the allowable lot depth for a proposed two-lot subdivision at 5515 Godfrey Road. The proposed parcels will meet the required area in the R5 zone, and this request is supported by city plan policy, as it allows a modest increase in residential density in the area. And I'm happy to take any questions about the application.
Thank you very much. Firstly, is there anyone here who wishes to speak to Development Variance Permit Application Number DVP 474-5515 Godfrey Road? I'm not seeing anyone. Councillor Hemmens has moved the recommended motion. Councillor Armstrong has seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Brinkman, the next one is yours as well. 12B, Home Energy Retrofit Financing Program Bylaw. Please.
Thank you. So with the support of finance staff, the city's sustainability team has been working very hard over the past year to bring forward this innovative initiative to make homes in Nanaimo more energy efficient and to reduce the city's greenhouse gas emissions. And I believe Ms. Pan and Mr. Stewart are here virtually to explain more about the program.
Very good. Thank you so much, Ms. Brinkman. Ms. Pan, good evening. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Council, and thank you, Ms. Brinkman. Just very briefly, I'm pleased to bring this report to Council for consideration. After receiving the direction last July to apply to FCM for funding to support a PayStyle loan homes retrofit financing program, we received news in December that we will be awarded to $458,000 from FCM to support the program. So this report is to bring the program establishing bylaws that is necessary for us to launch the program in April and allow staff to move forward. And so the report outlined the next steps and what the process would look like, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. Councillor Armstrong, please.
Thank you. Yes, I just had somebody reach out to me that didn't qualify for the Clean BC because they'd bought their house and were renovating it, so they couldn't change from oil to a heat pump. Will they still be able to apply to this? Would they qualify for that?
We do have eligibility requirements, so anyone who is interested is encouraged to contact us so that we can take a look and see if they're eligible.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Not seeing any further questions. Councillor Hemmens, please.
Thank you. I move that Home Energy Retrofit Financing Program Bylaw 2025 number 7393 to initiate the City of Nanaimo's retrofit financing program pass first reading.
Seconded Councillor Manley. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
Thank you. I move that the bylaw pass second reading.
Seconded Councillor Manley. Any discussion? Councillor Hemmens, do you wish to speak to it? No? Councillor Manley, please.
Thank you. I think this is a great program. I'm happy to see that it's available for for people on lower incomes, especially because home energy retrofits can be an expensive process, and once you get your money back, it's great. I've done 3 of them, and the first one was on a house built in 1910, and it's an Energy Star now, and it's amazing what some insulation blown into the walls can do and put into the attic in terms of saving energy and saving money in the long run. So happy to see this program coming about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Councillor Hemmons.
Thank you. I move that the bylaw pass third reading.
Seconded, Councillor Armstrong. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next is C, proposed telecommunications facility, 6675 Mary Ellen Drive. Ms. Brinkman, please.
Thank you. This next report is regarding a request for a letter of concurrence from Rogers Communications for a proposed telecommunications facility, or cell tower, at 6675 Mary Ellen Drive in North Nanaimo. So it is a federal agency that reviews and approves cell towers, and the agency is Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada. And this agency requires that companies consult the local community before they will approve the site and construction of a cell tower. So in early 2024, Rogers conducted consultation for the proposed siting of the tower, and then with feedback and concerns received in early 2024, Rogers moved the proposed location of the tower to be further away from the North Grove apartments, along with other site improvements. And now that the designs and plans for the new tower are complete, staff is bringing forward for Council's consideration Rogers' request for a letter of concurrence for the siting of the cell tower. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any questions. We do have 2 delegations, however. The first is Brian Gregg, President of SitePath Consulting Ltd. I understand via Zoom. Mr. Gregg, good evening. Are you here to make a presentation or just answer questions if necessary?
Hi, Mayor Krug, councillors. I'm here primarily to answer questions, but it's come to my attention that there's a subsequent delegation just following me. So I thought maybe if you'd like, I could briefly walk through our rationale and some of the extra consultation efforts we've undertaken. And
all right,
I'll try to
go
keep it
ahead.
brief.
You've got 5 minutes, sir.
Sure. Okay. And then, yeah, as you noted, I'd like to be available to respond to questions if desired. So at a high level, I've been working personally on this file since 2018. So it's 2025 now, that's 7 years. So that just from the outset gives you maybe some sense of how challenging it can be in some areas to find the right site for a proposed piece of infrastructure like this. There's a lot of technical factors, but also sometimes it can be a sincere challenge to find a willing property owner that's prepared to agree to certain business terms and host the infrastructure for the long term. And indeed, that was the case here in the Woodgrove Center area. It's an evolving area with a lot of property transfers and sales and a changing landscape, I guess you could say. And so it felt to us that from day one, when we would talk to a property owner, we think we would be having a positive discussion, and then the property would sell, for example, and that happened numerous times. So it's a growing area, not only in terms of commercial activity, but also in terms of densification. As you know, there's multifamily developments ongoing in the area as well. And indeed, it's that growth that necessitates improvements in the wireless infrastructure as well. We're trying to meet that demand on the network. The delegation that follows me, I believe, is likely representing the adjacent apartment. And indeed, we actually reached out to them before we made this proposal, and we were allowed to visit the rooftop of that very apartment building that's now adjacent to the proposal. Fortunately, it's only 4 stories tall, less than half the height of the minimum height that Rogers feels is needed to service the area reliably. So we did try to make an effort to consider numerous options, including that rooftop. We went through the consultation process that ISED requires, and we found that roughly 70% of the people that responded were supportive, largely due to public safety concerns and a need to improve emergency response services. Subsequent to that, at the city's recommendation, we also had an on-site meeting in January, including with the specific apartment building owners and the neighbors. And we shared with them our efforts to amend our proposed design, which included engaging an arborist to retain as many trees as possible, including specifically all the existing trees, I believe, between the apartment building and the proposed monopole. And there were some other updates as well, such as shifting the compound around, adding attractive cedar fencing, and so on and so forth. So we feel that we've kind of gone above and beyond and tried in earnest to work with the neighboring apartment building owners. So I'll leave it at that, and again, I'll be available to respond to any questions if need be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the delegation? I'm not seeing any, so the next delegation is Edward Hulshoff, Associate Bennett Jones. Good evening. Introduce yourself for the record. Thank you for coming. You'll have 5 minutes.
Sorry, can you hear me? Good. Good evening, council members. Last name Hulshoff, Hulshoff, first initial E. I'm counsel for Skyline Private Investment Capital, Inc. My client unfortunately received a last-minute unexpected notice of tonight's council's meeting, I believe last Thursday or Friday of this week. Quickly cobbled together a presentation which is displayed on the overhead projector right now, and I was then instructed to rush over and make some submissions to you this evening. I think you can probably gather that I'm attending this meeting to communicate Skyline's objections to the installation of the facility as it's currently conceived. You have the presentation, and I believe my client had consolidated numerous emails into one large PDF document. He may have shared it with you all. I do have it with me here today and can walk through some of those emails, but I don't think that I have time to do that. I understand I have 5 minutes, and so I'll move very quickly. My client is a leading real estate infrastructure and capital management company that acquires, develops, and manages real estate properties and clean energy across Canada. Skyline owns residential property located at 6971, 6973, and 6975 Island Highway North, Nanaimo. I think that there was a photograph shown on the projector of the proposed location of this cell tower. The residential property that my client owns is located adjacent to the Woodgrove Crossing Shopping Center. The residential property contains 4-story buildings containing 151 rental apartment units, and there are approximately 250 residents living at the property. Rogers, I assume, needs no introduction. It's one of Canada's leading telecommunications service providers. Rogers, to expand its wireless network, proposes a new 31-meter tall monopole tower at 6675 Mary Ellen Drive, Nanaimo, also known as the Woodgrove Crossing area. Going forward, I'll refer to it as the tower. To call it a facility is a bit of a euphemism. It's actually a tower. On February 2nd, 2024, Rogers issued a public consultation revised proposal. Going forward, I'll refer to it as the proposal. I think the council has probably seen that proposal. My client's issues with the proposal are threefold. That'd be the veracity of some of Rogers' attestations regarding the need for the tower in the proposed location, supported a lack of alternative locations, a bylaw violation, and the lack of procedural fairness in engaging in my client's concerns and questions throughout the consultation process pursuant to the ISED consultation framework. In hearing my client's objections regarding location of the tower, I'd ask yourself whether you would want to wake up to the silhouette of a 31-meter monopole tower backlit by the sunrise coming through the Nanaimo skyline. A visual simulation of that view is found on the last page of the proposal. If council members have a copy of it, it's at page 12. It isn't a pretty visual. The plot of land where the tower will be installed is framed by Highway 19, which I understand runs northwest to the south. Highway 19 northwest to the south, Island Highway North from the east to the west, and then Mary Ellen Drive, which runs north-south. So there's this triangular piece of property situated within this highway framework frame. As a preliminary matter, I wish to bring to the council's attention that it isn't accurate to actually say that the tower will be installed at 6675 Mary Ellen Drive, because if you Google that address, you'll actually see that it's McDonald's. The tower is actually going to abut a residential property that my client owns, so it is a tower that my client's property owners or residents will wake up and see every morning. In fact, Rogers proposes to install the tower within the treed area of land located at the north end of the building on the property that houses the Michaels and Sleep Country. The tower will abut the residential properties that my client owns, as I've indicated. I'll loan in on a key passage from the proposal, and that passage is found at page 2.
1 minute.
Just quote.
1 minute.
1 minute. There are no structures of a suitable height or location within a 1 kilometer radius of Rogers' intended service area, and therefore no co-location is viable. Since Rogers could not install its equipment on any existing structure, we identify the proposed location. The statement needs to be evaluated in 2 important respects. The alleged need for coverage in this area. If you go to the coverage map available on the Rogers Network website, you will see that it provides adequate coverage, including 4G, 3G, 5G, 4G LTE within that area. Constant recurring theme throughout the Rogers proposal is the need to improve its coverage. I implore the council to actually take a look at an online tool available at mapdevelopers.com, where you can draw a 1 kilometer radius around the area, and you can very clearly see that there are numerous alternative locations, including at Staples, 6581 Olds Road, Home Depot, and Woodgrove Center, located at 6631 Island Highway North of Nanaimo, and that is in my client's presentation.
If you could wrap up, sir.
Sure. So I would argue that the installation of the tower at any one of these locations could facilitate deep service penetration into the surrounding area. Moving on to my third objection, the bylaw violation. The proposed height would violate city bylaw requirements for, I believe, double the height of the, I think it's 28 meters. Anyway, the proposed tower will be 31 meters. I also object to the lack of procedural fairness in this context. Council's not inclined to question the merits of Rogers' notification proposal, then it must decline to issue the concurrent.
Sir, if you could wrap up.
Can I quickly wrap up quickly? Can you give me 10 seconds? Thank you. I won't walk through the questions, but there is a framework provided, as I said, and my client says that that process was not engaged. And if you turn to my client's email string, you will see numerous questions that my client did put to SitePath, and some of those questions were just clearly not answered in that email string. There is that ISID framework that my friend alluded to, and so I just ask that this council consider that whether or not that process was followed, and I would submit that it isn't in the proposal, or the location of the structure should be rejected, or the consultation process should be engaged.
Thank you. We have your point. Are there questions for the delegation? Councillor Gesselbrock?
Just for clarity, it's the reasons why they're not happy with the location is, 1, the aesthetics for the people living in the properties, and 2, that the proper process wasn't followed.
Correct.
In terms of engagement.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks.
Any other questions for the delegation? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation. There is a recommended motion. If we can put a motion on the floor. Councillor Armstrong moves it.
Move the recommendation.
Seconder. Councillor Hemmens. Councillor Armstrong, please.
Yeah, spoken in favor. I see when I looked at the consultation, 9 were in favor, only 2 were against. We never received multiple emails or anything on this. I know it's supported by emergency services and people for connectivity, so I'll be supporting.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion on this? Not seeing any. All those in favor? And those opposed? Councillor Gesselbrock opposed. The motion carries. Thank you. The next is D, Housing Agreement Number HA12-11 Dancer Road. Ms. Brinkman, please, again.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this staff report outlines the rationale for proposed housing agreement bylaw 7394 for the property at 11 Dancer Road. This property is zoned R5, and the zoning bylaw allows a supportive recovery house to be located at this site. When more than 5 individuals are proposed to be in the house, the zoning bylaw requires a housing agreement to ensure no more than 10 persons occupy the dwelling, and Walden House will have 9 residents and 1 manager on site. The housing agreement also ensures the property will be kept tidy and that the residents act as good neighbors in the community. Staff is recommending that Council proceed with bylaw readings for the proposed housing agreement bylaw 7395, and Ms. Rowe and I are here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Brinkman? I'm not seeing any. Councillor Hemmens?
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that a housing agreement bylaw 2025 number 7394 to secure the terms and conditions of occupancy for a residential shelter at 11 Dancer Road pass first reading.
Seconded. Councillor Manley. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Councillor Hemmens.
Thank you. I move that the bylaw pass second reading.
Seconded Councillor Armstrong. Any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.
I move that the bylaw pass third reading and council direct staff to register a covenant to reinforce the terms of the housing agreement prior to bylaw adoption.
Seconded Councillor Armstrong. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Brinkman. The next, we're on to bylaws. The first is Council Procedure Bylaw Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 7272.05. Councillor Hemmens.
Thank you. I move that council proceed. Sorry, my fault.
Sorry, Councillor Eastmere was. There we go. It's on.
I'd like to move a deferral of adoption of this.
Is there a seconder? Second, Councillor Armstrong. Discussion on the motion? Councillor Eastmere?
I believe at the very least we should be deferring fourth reading until we have considered Councillor Manley's motion, for which he's made notice of motion at today's meeting, to include a certification process to provide accreditation to media representatives and independent journalists. I feel it would be most appropriate to defer until that time.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong?
Oh, I just agree with Councillor Eastmere, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hemmens?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not going to support, because I think Councillor Manley is asking for an amendment to the bylaw, so we can pass the bylaw tonight as is. We have a process for media in place, so media can still bring recording devices in. They just need to receive approval from the mayor, which is a bit of a gray area because that leaves a lot of responsibility on the mayor. But if this is a matter of 5 weeks until we see this again, I'm okay with media having to come and ask for that permission. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the deferral? Sorry, Councillor Eastmere?
Thank you. I appreciate the point that Councillor Hemmens raises, but I am concerned that without an explicit exemption for journalists from the time of adoption, this is an infringement under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms on freedom of the press, and I just don't think that it's necessary to go through with adoption at this point if we have this motion coming to the next meeting. I think it would reflect best on the city to do it right and make sure that that we're not infringing on freedom of the press, and that we have a clear process in place that isn't just leaving it up to discretion of the chair when we adopt this bylaw.
Thank you. Councillor Manley?
Thank you. I'm going to support the deferral. I think that it's important to get the bylaw right, and I think that we should consider the amendment that I'm proposing before we adopt. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hemmens?
Thank you. I'm happy to follow the mover on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of deferral? Councillors Armstrong, Eastmere, Gesselbrock, Hemmens, and Manley. Councillor Brown? I think we've lost him. Those opposed? The mayor? The motion to defer carries. The next is B, Respectful Spaces Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 7381.01.
Your Worship, I'm not sure of the implications of this one being adopted in lieu of the other one being deferred. So if this one could be deferred to follow the next one, that would be great. I'm not sure of the ramifications because I wasn't expecting a deferral this evening. So I think the Respectful Spaces Amendment Bylaw should be deferred as well.
Councillor Hemmens moves deferral. Is there a seconder? Councillor Eastmere. Any discussion? Motion to defer. All those in favor? Councillor Perino's with us as well. We still don't have Councillor Brown. Everyone's in favor except me. I'm going to stick to my position. Time to get on with these things. Motion to defer carries. Thank you. We're on to 14, correspondence. British Columbia Conservation Foundation request for a letter of support re-grant application to Eco Action Stream 1 community-led freshwater action across Canada. Councillor Hemmens makes the recommended motion. We have a seconder in Councillor Eastmere. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. The next is an Art Action Earwig request for letter of support grant application to Canada Council for the Arts in support of pulling together 2025-2026. Moved Councillor Hemmons, seconded Councillor Armstrong. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Councillor Manley, you're giving us notice of your motions. Thank you, both of them.
Yes.
Ms. Gurry, we need nothing further. Is there any other business? I'm not aware of any. Any question period? Questions? None? Motion to adjourn. Councillor Hemmons, seconded Councillor Armstrong. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. Motion carries.